It all kind of led me back here and to work with Coach Rule, who truly, maybe I've been here only a few weeks, but this man may be the best leader I've ever been around. I mean, I sit there in his meetings and I'm taking notes left and right. He's incredible. I mean, the University of Nebraska, the people of Nebraska, I hope you understand how blessed you are to have such a tremendous coach and a great leader. And he's one of the only guys that probably in the game. Think about his path. Think about started off coaching D-line. Then he went linebackers, special teams coordinator. Then he makes a logical progression. He's a defensive coordinator. Another logical progression, coach for the Giants when they won the Super Bowl. Then, I mean, like, who does that? The man can coach. He's so highly intelligent. He can coach every position on the field. And he knows it. And what he's done, in my opinion, is he's hired a bunch of great teachers. And that's how, he's got a great plan as far as what he looks for in recruiting. We got a really fast football team. And, I mean, like Coach Snow said, he said, I was talking about the speed, and Coach Snow's like, hey, have you ever seen a donkey win the Kentucky Derby? He goes, we recruit speed and develop guys. And that's who he is. So I feel like I walked into an opportunity of a lifetime. And I walked away from a phenomenal situation where I was at Tennessee and with Josh Heupel, who's a lifelong friend of mine. So to come back here and to be a part of what's going on here and just do my job. That's what Coach said the other day. He said, everybody's got a job to do. Well, he hired me to come in here and coach special teams. And you know what? I'm going to give Coach Rule, I'm going to give the university and everybody in the state everything I got.
Mike, when you walk into a situation like this with that job, what is your first order of business? What have you set out to do, and will you in the next few weeks?
To get to know the players and evaluate each and every one of these players. We've got a huge spreadsheet, and every one of these players is on it. And it's got 6 different boxes. And it's the 4 core special teams, and it's got field goal and field goal block. And identify what each one of these guys can do. And then Coach said it best too. He's like, I don't want to hear what they can't do. Tell me what they can do. And that's what we're doing right now. And that's what we'll do throughout spring, and then we'll put it all together.
Was it when you left Tennessee, was it Nebraska or nowhere else, or why did it end up this way exactly?
Each year when you have success, and previous year had an opportunity, one of the most famous coaches in football, I won't mention him, called and had an opportunity, and each year, if you do your job at a high level, you have opportunities. If you don't, you have a for sale sign in your yard. And so, this was a really unique opportunity. This is where I'm from. This is my home. My parents live in Fremont. My uncle Bob Martin was an All-American here. I grew up going to every one of these games, and it's in your blood. And Nebraska, I mean, to be able to come back and do my part, do a small part of bringing it back where we're all used to. That's why I came. And, I mean, like I said, I'm a blue collar guy. I'm not going to say we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we're going to put our pads on. We'll talk with our damn pads. And so saying this is what we're doing, it's a process. And at the end of the year, we're going to look up, and we're not going to look up till then.
Sam McEwen from the Omaha World Herald. Welcome back, Coach. It's not as easy to return punts as it was 20 years ago, but your teams at Tennessee did a great job year after year. I think you guys have more than 1,000 yards in the last 3 years.
1,325.
There you go. So
and 8 blocks.
How'd you guys do that?
Truly, it's a culture. It's a culture, and we are saying it's ABT, all about technique for ABM, all about money. Everything we do on special teams, it's technique. And our guys are starting to understand already that it makes them a complete football player. It's all transferable skills. You know, we're doing kickoff drills, and okay, you're a receiver. You're stemming a DB, you're stepping on his toes, you look him in the eyes, you run a post cut, and your eyes stun him. All right, you're playing receiver. Okay, I made all the guys stand up, all the offensive guys stand up in the meeting room the other day. I said, fellas, guess what? Congratulations. You guys now are playing defense. We're going kickoff cover. And so it's all these different skills. How does that help a receiver understanding how to set up a block and defeat a block? Well, he's out blocking on the perimeter. And he might like to understand leverage. He might like to understand eye control. He might like to understand all the techniques that he's got to combat to go against that. Well, does he want to play on Sunday? Showed a clip yesterday. Kickoff cover with the Cleveland Browns. They got a running back out there. They got a wide receiver out there. They got 2 outside linebackers out there. They got a D lineman out there. So, you know, when they stand up and they go to the combine, they're standing up there by themselves. And all the scouts, GMs, head coaches in the NFL are there. All they got is their technique. All they have is their knowledge and their training. I'm not going to be there. Coach Rule's not going to be there. So if you say you want to, if you say you want to be a pro, be a damn pro. Live it. Don't talk about it. Be about it.
Matt McMaster, 1620 The Zone. Coach, when you are coaching special teams, what is the balance between skill set and just effort?
In a perfect world, you got it all together, right? But truly, when you take the technique piece of it, right, which is that's everything. When you take that and you combine it with guys who run fast and who are super strong, well, now you got some great stuff. At the last place I was at, we didn't play any starters. We played all freshmen and we played walk-ons. That's what we played. And you know what? We did all right. And we were kicking it off to first-round draft picks. And you know what? Like I said, like here, coming in here, I couldn't be more excited. And it's finding that right balance. It's giving guys, developing guys, because that's part of it. You get young guys out there and you get them out in the game and you give them a role. And they go start out there, they start making plays. And guess what? Then when they go out on offense, they go out on defense, been there, done that. So you get a chance to see how guys respond when the lights are on. Some guys got deer in headlights, right? And you get to identify that. And some guys can work through it, some guys can't. If you're scared of the dark, it's probably not the spot for you.
Hey, Mike, your place kicker situation, you got Hull returning,
Yep.
who made some big kicks last year, then a year ago, Alvano, who also made some big long kicks and had injuries. How do you evaluate that right now with those two guys from what you've seen?
It's truly, it's a day-to-day, just they're putting it on film. You know, I mean, and I've got to get a feel for them, get a feel for their skill set. And like I told these guys from day one, I said, fellas, right now I'm coming in new. You guys all have a clean slate, a new beginning. But I promise you this, the standard here is to be the best. And that's what the standard is. So we got to giddy up and go, or we're going to find people to bring in that are going to hit that standard. And that's just RLS, real life shizay.
What is your approach with kickers and punters? Do you I know Matt has had Maher around here, or did last year. Are you hands on with the specialists, or are you more let those guys do their thing?
It's interesting because where I've been, I've always coached linebackers or outside linebackers and all the special teams. So I left a place where I had 2 jobs. I would go start every day with special teams meeting, break that meeting, go right into outside linebacker meeting, go right out on the practice field, coach the backers, coach the special teams, sprint off the practice field, go up to my office, watch special teams film, boom, wouldn't eat lunch, walk right into the defensive meeting, watch the defensive film, then stay there till midnight and do my other, so it's 2 jobs. So to answer your question, I wasn't there all the time with the kickers and and punters and snappers because other responsibilities. So this is the first time that I've got an opportunity to do that, which is it's really interesting and I'm enjoying it.
Hey, Coach, Steve Mark with Inside Nebraska right here. You said you talked about trying to get a feel for the players during workouts when you're watching them. Are there specific things you look for with guys that will maybe give you an idea of, I could potentially use this guy on special teams?
Certainly. We've got every phase, it's broken down. Because again, we're just teachers, right? In every stage, it's a teaching progression, very logical, step by step. And you're teaching guys, and you're identifying their skill sets within each phase. And so without getting too far into the weeds, we've got a system that trains them, and while you're training them, the film, you go, okay, all right, he's probably going to excel at this, maybe not this. You know what I mean? You can identify their skill sets within that.
Mike,
You brought in, before you got here, they brought in a punter and Jack McAllister and a long snapper. What have been your initial thoughts and just where that part of the special teams operation can go with those guys?
Yeah, Kevin, Jack, those guys have been working their tails off, doing a great job. And again, it's, been here for 2 weeks. And so we're just, seeing what they can do. And then as we go through spring ball, we'll make all those decisions but very happy with how they're working and excited they're here.
What's your assessment on what you're walking into? I mean, special teams was an issue here. What did you see as you walked in?
This is what I saw. I saw exactly what we've done for 4 years at the last place I was at. And so if anybody wants to comment on what we did at the last place I was at, it's fairly ignorant because you're not in the weeds. You don't know who we're playing. You don't know all the different dynamics. So for somebody on the outside, that's why no offense, but I don't read anything y'all write because you're not in the weeds. And I don't mean it out of disrespect at all. But you don't know everything that's going on, And so for me to comment on what happened here would be ignorant. I wasn't here. And quite honestly, all I'm worried about is today and getting better today, and then we'll worry about tomorrow. So I'm just super excited because I'm walked into a team full of speed, phenomenal strength programs, phenomenal strength coach, and probably the best leader of a head coach I've ever been around. So that's my take on it, and I'm just here to do my part.
Will you not be on the road then too, or as far as a recruiter, with just the way things are structured right now in this role?
I'll tell you this, I will do whatever the head ball coach asks me to do. So I can't, that's up to him.
Hi, Coach. Adam Kruger with CBS in Omaha. I know your first stint at Nebraska probably felt like a long time ago, but where do you feel like you've made the most improvement as a coach in general from your first time here till now?
It's a great question. Again, in this profession, in life in general, every single day as a human being, as a father, as a journalist, you're getting better or worse. We never stay the same, right? So if you're built to be the best, then you're always constantly looking to improve. Every single day you wake up. And so every day in my life, it's all about continuous improvement. And there's only one way to coast, right? That's downhill. And I'm not into that. And Coach Saban said it best a couple years ago. That's why I've been so fired up coming in here. High achievers don't like low achievers. And low achievers don't like high achievers. Well, I walked into a place with a bunch of high achievers. And so to put a cap on that, every single year, every single experience, the people I've been around, I mentioned Ed Orgeron. I learned a ton about evaluation from Ed Orgeron. I go to Georgia, and I learned a ton about evaluation from Jeremy Pruitt. All these guys that, just different areas, you're either growing or you're not. And then spent a lot of time in the dungeon. I mean, I'd sit in my office and watch a ton of film. And it's all about, again, it's fine. You win in the margins. So you talk about, yeah, we've led the country in punt returns and whatnot. We've worked our tail off on that, and we're going to continue to. And that's how you win. It's not, people talk about it's not what you do, it's how you do it. You all have heard that, right? Well, when you combine what you do with how you do it, now you got something special. And that's always been my focus.
Coach?
Bobby Schneider, the Daily Nebraskan. Looking at Andrew Marshall's film coming in as a transfer, what excites you most about his return game?
Man, I'll tell you, again, haven't gotten it. I can't even comment on it yet because I want to see all of our guys. There's a bunch of guys out there that are banging down my door that they're like, Coach, man, I'm your guy. I'm your guy. Because the last 5 guys we've had have all gone to the NFL, or 5 punt returners. And so, when you look at that, that's why they're in line. And so, anyway, I don't have a great feel for that yet.
Mike Evans with Channel 10 here in town. When you were here previously, you coached with a ton of energy on the sideline. Over the course of the past 15 or so years, has that still been a way that you behaved on the sidelines and kind of your demeanor on game day?
I'm a pretty reserved guy, as you know. And I still got to finish the I-80 marathon too. But no, I mean, I think each year, honestly, I've gotten more energy. And that's just who I am. You got to coach to your personality, right? And I love what I do. And I love the game day. I love the competition. I love that's why you coach, to compete. And I just enjoy it. So, that's just kind of my personality. Hey, appreciate it. And thanks for everything, fellas.
I'm blessed to be here for this opportunity. I'm really happy for Coach Rule giving me this chance to be here. I'm blessed for this opportunity. I also want to take this time to say thank you to the Kansas City Chiefs, Coach Reed and his staff. They've been a world to me and my family, and I'm so happy and grateful to be here to coach these young men to move forward and hopefully for great things. With that being said, I open up for questioning.
What was the connection to Nebraska? How did they find you, and were you familiar with anybody here before you took the job?
I was first of all, to answer your question. What's your name?
Sean Cowan.
Sean, no. First of all, I wasn't. We had a guy on our staff named Dave Merritt, and we have some other component parts that knew Coach Rule. Coach Reed is a big fan of Coach Rule, and from that standpoint, we were still in season, and I had the opportunity to interview with Coach Rule, and he was willing to wait for me, and it was a great opportunity for me and my family. So I had no connections before. So 2 weeks ago, driving up to the Winterstone was my first time coming to Nebraska.
Hey, Terry, Mitch Sherman from The Athletic.
How you doing, Mitch?
I'm good. Welcome to Nebraska.
I'm happy to be here.
College, was it something that was in your mind? I mean, I know you go way back at the beginning of your coaching roots, and there's Bethune-Cookman, but you seemed to get pretty entrenched in the NFL. Where was this potential move in what your goals were as you progressed with the Chiefs?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I was a high school head coach at the age of 24, and coaching is my ministry. So I had a desire to come back to college. My main goal is to mentor these young men, develop them on the field and off the field. And it's always been a blessing for me to know that I always want to get back to college one day and basically develop the young man that's in the room.
Hey, Coach. Brian Christopherson.
How you doing, Brian?
Good. When you were talking through the process in the interview, what was it with Coach Rule and the staff that you just felt like this fits?
Well, one, for him to wait for me, we didn't get it. We got a bus to get a three-peat. That didn't happen, but he was willing to wait for me. He'd been in the NFL with the New York Giants, and during the interview, he was willing to wait. Coach Reed was a big fan of him, and they knew each other very well, and that was a big thing for me and my family. My family is the number one part of my life and my component. So for him to wait for my family, my kids, and everything after the Super Bowl run, I was blessed for the opportunity, so I felt like it was a right fit for me at the time.
Hey, Coach, Steve Mark with
How you doing, Steve?
Good. Joe Cullen, you work for him. How has he shaped your coaching style? What are the kind of main takeaways that you take from Coach Cullen?
Well, Coach Cullen always talk about effort and energy, and that's what we're going to talk about in the D-line room every day. We want to lead the Big Ten in effort from the D-line room. And with Coach Cullen, he taught me the basic principles of pass rush, and he helped me with my career. But it goes back from Steve Spagnuolo to Bob Sutton to all the way to Brandon Daly. That whole tree of me being with the Kansas City Chiefs has helped me for be at this time and place right now talking to you.
Hey, Terry, Evan Bland, Omaha World Herald.
How you doing, Evan?
Hey, doing well. What are the priorities for you this spring, getting to know these guys and trying to get this deal done where you guys want?
That's a great question. My core values is family, relationship, and work ethic. And one, family. They're going to know that I'm part of family because Rule is big on family. I had my son and my wife in here last week, and that was real big for me. So the room will know that I'm big on family and relationships. Second component, relationships is very important. I got to get to know everybody in this room. I have to know when you come in my room, are you in a good mood, bad mood, are you ready to go? And I have to, as a coach, my number one job is to get the best out of you for that number one activity and task that we have at hand, which is right now we had a walkthrough. So then after that is work ethic. So I'm going to establish these core principles as part of work ethic and everything that Coach Rule going forward and his principles going forward with the program. So I'm going to relay what Coach Rule said, Coach Butler, and my biggest component is let them know that I'm big on family, relationship, and work ethic.
What's the main difference in coaching NFL players and Big Ten, high-level college players?
Chris Jones called me the other day. He asked me the same question. Well, the biggest difference is this level I'm able to develop more. And I'm talk about a stance when I first got here. Get off the ball, hand placement. When you get a guy that's been in the league for 6 years, they already have those components in their play. So I think that's the bigger difference of development and really the relationship part, being a father figure to them, sometimes in the NFL, and it happens too in college, but you have a guy for 6 weeks, 4 weeks, and they're gone in the free agency world. So that's really big. I think the biggest difference is true development, which I'm all about.
Hey, Terry. Luke Mullen from the Lincoln Journal-Star.
How you doing, Luke?
Good. Just to kind of follow up on that, is there a difference in the techniques you're going to be teaching these guys, in the NFL versus college, or maybe the way that you teach different pass rushing moves?
Nah, Luke, football is football. I've done coached little league to high school to NFL, and I'm in college. So we're going to teach the same principles. Get in the stance, get off, hand placement, strike blocks. So fundamentals is fundamentals. We can't get bored with them.
Hey, Coach, when did you realize your first game at Nebraska would be in Arrowhead Stadium, and how exciting would that be for you to coach your first game where you had been for several years before?
Well, that's a great question. I'm trying to think about tomorrow, not the first game, but I knew somebody intel there at the Chiefs told me, and I was really excited, and I told my wife. So, man, it's just a blessing to be there for 8 years. Most people not at an organization for 8 years, and going back where I was there in the booth, on the field, watching these guys win AFC championships. I think I've been at 5 AFC championships. I done won 3 Super Bowls, so I've been blessed. So to go back for my first game and for the young man in my room to give them a story, hopefully get some players to come from the Chiefs to let them know that they can make it, I think is very important. It's a special moment.
Hey, Coach, Lauren Michelson, KTV in Omaha. You say relationships are really important to you. How do you go about forging those in a room you're inheriting with new guys and returners?
I think it's the number one thing is communicate clarity. They got to come in the room. I got to meet them. I got to talk to them. I have to talk to their parents because it don't take one person to build a village. It takes all of us. So if one man lacking, the next man lacking. So my biggest objective is to get them in the room, talk to them, set them down, and just get to know them. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So it's going to take some time, but I think we're on the right path to be successful.
Here at Third Out Sports. I know you said that coaching is your ministry and you're the one teaching, but what have you learned in these last few years from your players specifically at the Chiefs that you're excited to bring here at Nebraska?
I think that you have to listen to players. I learned a lot from Chris Jones, George Kalafis about pass rush because they out there doing it. And I think being at the Chiefs, coming off the field, talking to George Kalafis, I remember like it's yesterday, he got us 3 sacks in one game. And I was just so happy it felt like I was playing. So that's the really big thing that I learned about being at the Chiefs. Sometimes you got to listen to your players more and not just talk about X's and O's. It's all about people.
Coach Bradden, Matt McMaster from 1620 The Zone.
Say your name one time, I'm sorry.
Matt McMaster.
How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great, Coach. So, the cliche is learning how to win, right? You got to learn how to win. You're coming from a modern NFL dynasty. What are some of the things, the nuances, the little details about winning that you picked up from the Chiefs that you hope to relay into your room and just the program in general?
That's a great question. 8 years ago, I was sitting at the Pro Bowl, didn't know nobody. And I had an awesome opportunity to talk to Emmett Thomas, Hall of Famer for the Chiefs. And him and Coach Reed taught me this business is all about people. You can put up cover 2, you can talk about pass rush, but you got to have good people around you to be successful. And I think being at the Chiefs is what I really learned about a successful organization. It's all about people at the end of the day. I hope I answered your question.
No, that was perfect.
Terry, short time here, of course, just getting to know these guys. Are you able to recognize and identify any leaders in your room in this early stage?
That's an early stage, and I'm going to answer that question as we progress through spring. But like Elijah Judy, he's been here the longest. Van Pop has been here the longest. Cam, they all had experience playing. But so that group right there, those 3 has shown just playing performance on the field, just the amount of reps. But as we go more, we understand who will be the vocal point, who will be the leader in the room moving forward. So I'll wait to answer that question as the spring go.
Hey, Coach. Andy Ketterson, Corn Nation.
Hi, Andy.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
When did you first know that coaching was in your blood and it's what you wanted your future to be about?
Oh, that's a great question. I graduated from Tuskegee University, and I thought I wanted to be a U.S. Marshal. And that wasn't my plan. I did an internship with the federal defenders at Montgomery, and it was a failure. So I said, what can I do every morning that I love, wake up, and change a young man's life? And that was football. I get to coach a game that I played all my life, and also got to inspire and change a young man on the field and off the field. And that's when I knew, when I was in college at Tuskegee University, my last year, had an opportunity to go to the AFCA convention, Then I became in a 30 for 30, became a high school head coach. And when I was a high school head coach, it gave me more a validation, like this is what I need to do. When I was telling them I was going to be a GA at Bethune-Cookman, they all start crying. And I was like, this is my purpose. This is my destiny. And this is what I want to do. And I've been chasing it all my life. And I'm grateful for this moment now at Nebraska.
Hey, what do you like about John Butler and the way he runs his defense so far?
Well, we're still early stage putting the defense together, but I like how Coach Butler is very detailed. He's talking about fundamentals. He's talking about communication clarity. I think he does a great job. Coach Snow, everybody in the room from Addison Williams to Phil Simpson, from Ira, everybody in the room just communicate clarity and organization and detail and just talking about fundamentals. So I think Coach Butler does a great job talking about fundamentals, technique, sound, and just the basics, which I think is very important.
Kevin Suits with Channel 10 here in town.
How you doing, Kevin?
I'm doing well. Have you got all your Chiefs guys to become Nebraska fans now?
Well, that's when I was leaving the last day before the Super Bowl. The night before, they was all saying, "No, we're gonna cheer for Nebraska because you're there." But that's still a tough component to really grave in. Some guys with the SEC and ACC. That's a tough one.
What kind of response did you get from the guys you were coaching with the Chiefs about your move?
Man, really, that was. I'm gonna keep that private, but it was a special moment that I never thought. The last night, guys basically got up in the room from Chris Jones to Tershawn Wharton and gave a testimony, and it was a tearful moment.
I know you were dialed in on your work with the Chiefs, but what was that balance like for the 2 months where you're kind of you're paying some attention to the Husker roster?
Absolutely, of course. But I was still working for the Chiefs, and I understand what Coach Reed number one goal is about winning. But when Coach Reed gave me an opportunity, I was happy, and I was able to organize very well and help out both sides.
With the current workouts right now, you get to watch them. How valuable is that to just learn about your guys and like what you're going to be able to work with? Just are there specific things during workouts that you'd like to keep an eye on?
I'm just keeping an eye on all the fundamentals: stance, get off, hand placement. This part to me is like OTAs almost. It's very important to see the fundamentals from the ground up. You build a defensive lineman from the ground up, from a stance, get off. It's a difference from first and second down, get off, then third down, get off. So it's very important that I'll keep preaching fundamentals. We can't get bored with fundamentals. So to answer your question, yeah, I can see a lot right now developing in the process. Guys doing extra drills when I leave. They embracing the process and embracing the different culture of my coaching style. I thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Questions for Coach Williams?
Hey, Coach Brian Christopherson from Husker 24/7. What made this opportunity feel right as you went through the process of coming to Lincoln?
I would say the people and just doing some research on Coach Rule. I had already known Coach Butler, and then Coach Mosey, who was already here, who was down at my last spot with us, and he had nothing but great things to say about the place. And so when the opportunity started to kind of come about, it was something that I definitely wanted to look into, and glad that I made the decision to come here.
Addison, Luke Mullen from the Lincoln Journal-Star. You have some coordinator experience, obviously. What do you think you learned from that period, and what do you like about just focusing on the DBs now?
Well, the biggest thing is learning more about the big picture and understanding how everything fits together because at the end of the day, all 11 guys got to do their job or there's going to be a breakdown somewhere. And so just having that opportunity the last 2 years and then now coming here having the opportunity to step back and learn from Coach Rule, learn from Coach Butler, learn from Coach Snow, I think would be very, very beneficial towards the furtherment of my career.
Steve Sipple, Husker Online. Has there been anything eye-opening about this roster, just the job in general in your short time here?
It's a lot of young talent on this roster. They've done a really good job recruiting over the last few years. When you got guys that are big, you got guys that are fast. And I know I heard Coach Terry talking about the fundamentals of things. That's something that we're really, really harping on, and development of players and teaching guys how to play football. But I do think we have a good core of guys that we can develop.
We got to hear from Coach Ekeler and Coach Bradden both about the influences that they had in their careers, whether with Mike, with all the coaches he's been around, and of course the guys at the Chiefs with Terry. For you, who are some of those influences, even back to your playing days and the guys that you had a chance to coach with?
I would say one, Steve Spurrier. He's been very influential from the time I was a player and even still, having communication now. Also, Lorenzo Ward, who's now working at Clemson off the field, he was the one that actually got me into coaching. Similar, I did not know what I wanted to do when I was done playing. And it was one day we were on the practice field and he brought the conversation up and I'm kind of like, I really don't know. Well, fast forward a year later, I was a graduate assistant at the University of South Carolina working under him as the coordinator. He's been very influential and he's the guy that I always communicate with when it's a matter of taking a different job or another opportunity. Another guy I would say is Steve Wilkes. Steve Wilkes has been very influential in my career just from leadership standpoint, and I've never seen anybody command a room like he does. He does a really good job with that. He does a really good job with relationships, and that's something that I learned from him from his time with the Panthers and with the Arizona Cardinals.
You return a lot of guys that played snaps in that secondary. What do you know about that group right now? Just when you, Sean Callahan, by the way, Husker line. What do you know about that group?
It's a talented group. It got a lot of guys with size and length in the room. It's not a very small room, which is good, you know, especially when you're playing man coverages and trying to defend the go ball a lot. And it's a lot of speed in that room. We actually just went over some of the catapult numbers yesterday, and it's a lot of speed in that room. So I'm excited to continue to work with them and build a players from the ground up for sure.
I think you'll be the 4th defensive backs coach in like 3 years.
That's correct.
Where you have to earn guys' trust. I mean, they've had a bunch of different guys come through, all good guys, but different. How do you earn people's trust, and how do you maybe think about how to teach them when they've probably learned different techniques from different guys?
Right, and that's something that I put out in the forefront. I'm a guy that's very upfront with the guys, so there's something that I've talked to each and every one of them about. I'm not naive to that being the situation. I know I do got to come in and earn their respect, but I think it goes back to relationships, which is one of my core values, and I think that's one of the reasons that Coach Rule hired me here, because he's big on relationships, and that's what he wanted staff to be all about. And I think from that standpoint, and Rome wasn't built in a day, so it's going to take time to build that trust and that relationship, but I think we're off to a good start thus far.
Generally speaking, when you're looking at defensive backs, what are the traits you look for in those guys?
So the biggest thing I'm going to look for length. I'm going to look for how explosive he is, meaning can he run, can he change directions, how well does he transition. I'm going to look for guys that are willing to be physical, because obviously in today's game it's so much perimeter passing game that you got to be able to make tackles. And then the last thing is guys' playmaking ability. I would say those are the main 4 things that I look for.
You got to spend a little time on the field with these guys before the Pinstripe Bowl, is that right?
Yes, I was kind of around watching though. It wasn't doing too much on the field with them, but I had
you were at the game?
I was not.
Oh, you were not? Okay.
I was not, yeah.
One of the guys I wanted to ask you about who showed up in that game, we hadn't seen a lot of before, Donovan Jones, a young guy.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a sense of what you have in him? And not to single him out too much, but somebody who emerged later in the season and made a splash in the last game.
Yeah, I believe he played more snaps in that game than he did all season on defense, and that was a name when I walked in the building. A lot of people were high on that he had been doing a good job during the season progression, and then also doing bowl practice. And he had a good few practices that I watched, and obviously did have a good game in the Pinstripe Bowl. And he's another guy that's big, he's physical, he can run, and he can play multiple positions in the secondary. So definitely excited to see his continued growth this spring.
Matt McMaster at 1620 The Zone. Coach, you've been a defensive coordinator before. How do you think having that 1,000-foot view of how a defense fully operates has helped you be able to become a better just individual positions coach?
I would say the biggest thing is when you have to focus on the bigger picture, and then now you can go back to a minuscule deal, you can really focus on the details of that position. Because it does come times when you become a coordinator, you're focusing on the X's and O's more so than just the pure development of the player. So I think it's going to allow me to get back to really focusing on the technique and fundamentals of the defensive back position.
I wanted to ask about another specific player, Bly Hill. He was banged up last year.
Right.
They were really high on him. How have you seen him kind of working out just so far in his movement?
He's done a good job. He actually moved around pretty well, and especially to be a longer guy. Most longer guys, they do have some stiffness, but Bly moves around really well, and excited to see him continue to be healthy, remain healthy, and go through spring ball.
With the cornerbacks, how much do you want those guys generally just to press at the line of scrimmage and be very physical at that point of attack?
That's going to be more so on Coach Butler from a schematical standpoint, but when we do call man coverage, I do want the guys to get in guys' faces and challenge them, not just open up the gate and let guys run, for sure, and affect the quarterback.
Do you get a sense of leaders in that room? I mean, is it just the older guys, or what are you seeing in this short time?
Still learning from that standpoint, and we've been doing mat drills the last couple of weeks, so that's happened a little bit, but not ready to quite pinpoint a guy right now. But the older guys do kind of speak up a little more than the younger guys. But I do think in some younger guys in that room that will have an opportunity to grow into that leader role as well over the course of the spring and the summer.
Thanks, Sam.
Appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Great.